Hands down, one of the best tools to use in endgame content is the ability to suppress, stun, and blind enemies. Even when under light, the toughest of enemies are rendered useless if they can't see or shoot you. What's going on, guys? It's G Miners here, and today I'm going over what I call the Flashbang build. This build works great in endgame content and is going to provide your team with some of the best crowd control options in all of Destiny. I did want to mention that I am a bit sick. Hopefully it is not the vid, but if I sound weird or stuffy, I do apologize. I really wanted to get a video out today, so that's why I ultimately decided to record. With that out of the way, I still wanted to incorporate most of the mods for my previous ultimate endgame build, but I wanted to select a certain loadout and vary the mods slightly. This loadout will be great for controlling a high volume of adds, all the while keeping you alive no matter the level of content you are playing. As I mentioned in the title, this build works on all characters, but there will be some exotics that make the Hunter better for this build. Starting out with our gear mods, we are pretty much going to be running the exact same thing as the 4 times Charged with Light build. This will require 3 void pieces of armor, 1 solar piece, and a final piece of your choosing. On my arms, I am running the void mod stacks on stacks to allow me to gain multiple stacks of Charged with Light at the same time. On my chest, I am running the void mod protective light. This is a staple to endgame builds and will help keep me alive when my shields are destroyed. On my boots, I am running taking charge. This allows me to get charged with light by picking up orbs of power. These orbs will be generated by supers and kills with masterworked weapons. On my class item, I am also running blast radius. This once again allows multi-kills with special grenade launchers to also charge me with light. I run this mod because I will always be using a GL with this build, and it might not always be possible to pick up orbs. Unlike the 4 times Charged with Light build, we will be swapping out Supercharged for the perk Cellular Suppression. This perk provides us with the ability to generate Warmind cells. To do this, we will be using the Ikelos SMG. This is the best Ikelos weapon in my opinion, but you are free to use whatever Ikelos or 7th Seraph weapon is your favorite. All of these weapons are capable of generating Warmind cells. When we get kills with the Ikelos SMG, there is a chance for Warmind cells to generate and drop to the floor. Shooting these Warmind cells with a single bullet will send out a burst that suppresses all nearby enemies. The Warmind cell will also not detonate, which means you can use it to suppress enemies multiple times. Each suppression burst has a few second cooldown. With this build, we will also be using a blinding grenade launcher with autoloading holster. Since I use the Ikelos SMG in my energy slot, I will use the Pardon Our Dust in the kinetic slot. If you use an Ikelos or 7th Seraph weapon in your kinetic slot, then the Truthteller or Empty Vessel can be used instead of the Pardon Our Dust. The nice part about this build is that you are free to use whatever you want in your heavy slot and for your subclass. This makes the build adapt well to encounters where you need to potentially ad clear a lot of enemies and deal DPS to bosses or ultras. Before I continue with the video, if you find this build useful, don't forget to drop a like and sub down below. Subbing is completely free, it helps me out a ton, and you can always change your mind later. If you want to make this build even stronger, you can play on Hunter using Top Tree Void and the exotic boots, the Bombardiers. The melee on Top Tree Void provides Hunters with another ability that can suppress enemies that walk through it. On top of this, Top Tree Tether is one of the best ad clear and crowd control supers in the entire game. Running a Void subclass while using the Bombardiers allows players to stun enemies with an explosive bomb that is released when dodging. The background gameplay for this video is of the first encounter for Grasp of Avarice on Master difficulty. Even here, when I am slightly under light, the explosion is still able to easily kill adds and suppress those that survive. On top of this, each time that you dodge, you will also go invisible. This makes for a great ability to use as a last resort when a group of enemies is pushing you. Depending on the situation though, sometimes the Bombardiers would feel extremely underwhelming. In this case, I would recommend running the Orpheus rigs instead. These are a simple and old exotic, but in my opinion, these are the best Hunter exotic in the game. You'll miss out on one blinding ability, but will be able to use your super way more frequently. I think overall, this build is pretty solid. If I had to rate it, I would say for endgame content, it's about a 7 out of 10. I think that you will miss out on some survivability without Supercharged, but I also think this build has better potential during ad clear encounters. At the end of the day, the only major difference is utilizing Cellular Suppression. This mod did get nerfed in terms of range, and in my opinion, Global Reach doesn't seem to increase this, so there are definitely times when the suppression doesn't seem to work. There's definitely a ton of mods that you could also add to make this build better for the Warmind cell. Mods like Warmind's Light, Fireteam Medic, Wrath of Rasputin, and Power of Rasputin could all make this build better. But for each mod you add, you take away survivability from Protective Light, so ultimately I decided to keep it simple. Let me know your thoughts on this build in the comments below and any suggestions you might have. That's all I have for this video, guys. Peace.